Hi everyone, welcome to this beautiful session. We've got Orion and the Dark here, okay, the team from it. So what I'd love you guys to do is just go down the line, introduce yourselves, talk about what you've done on the film, your role basically.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm Sean Charmatz, and I am the director of Orion and the Dark.
I'm Tim Lamb, and I'm the production designer of Orion and the Dark. I've also designed some characters for it.
And I'm Christine Bian, the art director of Orion and the Dark.
It's good to clarify.
Forget that.
No, it's very important.
It's good clarity, yeah. So you guys, I just saw the trailer, okay? I really like the visual style that you've gone for. We'll start there. I know this is based on a book, okay? We talk about, let's say, where you started from, where you are now, and how we got there. If there's an initial stage where you're like, okay, I love this story, let's make this into a movie. Let's start from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we get there?
Yeah.
Charlie Kaufman.
Yeah.
We were aware that it started with the book, and we love the book. We were also handed an incredible script that Charlie Kaufman wrote, and he really made that big leap for us from the book to the script. And I think we all saw it as our job to basically not touch as much as we could. Leave Charlie's writing as much as we could. We wanted to add a little more like physical stakes. And for us, yeah, to me, it was mostly just about the stakes, being really clear about what the characters wanted and making sure the audience felt that. And that's really, for me, mostly what we added. And the rest is Charlie making an incredible script for us to work from.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then down the line, like when did you guys come on board?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I did this like trailer thing. I was asked to just do a board pitch when I first read the script, and I in my mind I was like, I'm gonna do more than that, because when you just pitch storyboards, there's still a lot to imagine. What is the music going to sound like? What do the characters sound like? What's the pacing like? All these things that are harder to show executives just through pitching a storyboard. So I basically edited a trailer myself with voices. I was Dark, and
Wow.
my son was Orion, and everyone was ready for a storyboard pitch, and instead I played them in animatic with music, with Tame Impala in it, and Tame Impala's in the trailer you just watched. And they got it. They got what I wanted to do, and I think that helped also for Tim to kind of have an idea of like visually what it could look like, right?
Well, I think thematically it was so fresh, and you know, coming from a Charlie Kaufman script, there was a lot of really fresh ideas in there, and a lot of stuff that was really challenging to kind of represent visually. But of course, we also had the children's book, which was this illustrated watercolor thing, and so we were excited about trying to instill some of those kind of natural paints and kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, like traditional media, and yeah, like you said, like Emma Yarlett, Emma Yarlett. Shout out to her, the author of the book. Anyways, like she had this very whimsical, charming, like illustrated style, and we wanted to keep, like, we stayed true to that basically and honor that in the style of our film as well.
Yeah, keep some of those textures, but then update the characters too.
Yeah, totally.
One other thing I'd like to add is that I think this was kind of something that you thought of, Tim, but that we were limited with our budget.
Okay.
And so I think that we were thinking, how can we, with a limited budget, make something that feels really beautiful, finished, maybe not like less realized if we were to try and do sort of the more slick $90 million traditional. So we thought about what we could do with our limitations that would feel gorgeous and finished, and that no one would notice that we had limitations with budget. And I think that was something that you really thought about.
Totally. Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, we wanted something that felt kind of handmade, something that was unfinished, kind of in like a natural handmade quality, something that wasn't kind of cleaned up and like hyper real. So we kind of we leaned into our limitations, and I think in a lot of ways that kind of led to the final look of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think all three of us, we really like movies that feel practical. We were really lucky to have a creative team that we all kind of were aligned on, artists we like, films we like. I think it's not every project that you get to really bring in a lot of your personal inspirations, and especially like vibe, with personal inspirations like you and I and Sean, we all like a lot of the same artists. Like Ronald Searle is a great example. Our world has, like Tim was saying, a lot of like handmade feeling, and one of the elements of that handmade feeling is seeing the line work, and we kind of got that from Ronald Searle's beautiful like pen and ink style. It feels very drawn, and so we wanted to find a way to capture that and bring it into the 3D world, which we did successfully.
Yeah.
So
Sorry for the 2-hour long.
2 mics, yeah.
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 Explanation of that, but there's a lot to it. Yeah, for sure.
Why did you guys choose then was it budget reasons you decided to go with CG, or you wanted to explore the style, or it was already developed? Could you talk a bit about that?
Why we went CG?
Yeah, and with a mix of mediums as well, because I can see in the trailer you've got these beautiful pop-ups of like artistic sketch kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super mixed media. It's super mixed media.
Yeah.
I mean, there's several 2D styles in our film. But I think that the expectation from the studio was always that it's going to be a CG film. So I don't think we ever questioned, should this be 2D? I don't think that, it's interesting. It's really much harder to get people to do 2D than 3D these days. People are like, what, 2D? We don't have a pipeline for that. We don't have people who know how to do that anymore.
Yeah. Which is a huge bummer.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's weird.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's all I had to say.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think the expectation from studios is always it's CG. Characters have like big expressive eyes. I remember that was something Jeffrey Katzenberg seemed to always want, was like big expressive eyes. And in our film, we have we call them ping pong ball eyes, like Simpsons style, with a little dot. And I think that a lot of studios would have just been like, not expressive enough. We need to match this sort of CG look that everyone is doing. And so in some ways, we really kind of went opposite of CG and the expectations of the industry, I think, with design. But I think that was our way, again, of working within our limitations. And yeah, I don't think if we said we want to make this film 2D, I think it would have been a no. But we kind of did, in a way. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a little bit of a hybrid, too.
Yeah.
Because we ended up filming ink dropping on paper, and we used that as sort of a launching off point for a lot of our visual effects.
Yeah.
So we have dark kind of spilling across the night, and we knew we had some limitations, and we thought, why not lean into that and really just use so a lot of the transitions in the movie that are kind of like our special effects are something, that we shot on our iPhone.
Yeah.
And just comped it in.
His garage.
So, yeah. Wow. So it's kind of fun to work in that way, because I've worked at Dreamworks for a lot of years, and I've never been able to work on something that kind of hands-on before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a really nice story then, to be able to just be totally explorative, I think is the term, to really just push it out and say, okay, rather than rendering an ink drop, let's just film it and put it in there. That's a very different way of approaching it.
Yeah, that, and also we had time limitations too, which actually was a benefit for us, because we worked quickly, and we didn't, a lot of times in animation, because you can do anything, because you can do anything, and so you just keep trying more and more different things, and I think because of our limitation in time, we just kind of we knew it was right. And I think one of the things that was really great working with Sean is he knew exactly what he wanted.
Yes.
He had a really clear vision, and so once we found it, we just kind of went for it.
Yep.
And I think that all the decisions we made were I think that we proved that it worked. People watched it, it was undeniably visually great. So I think that to these guys' credit, it was people watching were like, gonna just stand back and let you guys do your thing, because I think it just undeniably looks good, I think. I know I'm the director, but I love the way it looks, and I feel like that's the reaction from most people.
It wouldn't be good if you said it looked terrible.
No, it wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be as happy smiling and having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love the way it looks. Yeah.
So what stage is it at the moment? Like, where are we? Finished? Ready? What kind of part? Like, where are we in the production?
We are close to finished. I think we have 2 months left. Animation is 100% done. Lighting is at like 50 or 60%. And we're not changing really anything. We're just finishing now. You know, sometimes people are still working on Act 3. We have been locked on everything for a long time.
Yeah.
Just for time reasons too. We have to just keep moving forward. Yeah.
Amazing. I want to reverse then to this character Dark, right? Okay, because that's a very interesting visual challenge to get across. You know, you're representing the dark. So could you talk about the development of how you approached him?
Yeah, Dark was an interesting challenge because he not only does he represent Dark, he represents the main character's fear, which is death. And so I think one of the early ideas that I think you and Joe Pitt had was that he's a Grim Reaper. He's like kind of a symbol of the unknown, of all of Orion's fears. And so it felt like a really cool kind of contrast to have this likable character that when you first meet him, he feels like this kind of pretty intimidating character.
Yeah.
I think it was cool that the studio let us to just talk about death. Let a character say, you know, what happens after I die, which is a question I think all kids have. My son woke up one night and woke me up and said, what happens after you die, you know? And so I think that it's a really difficult thing that all humans have to deal with, and kids at one point realize, you know, and so I just want to say, I know that's not part of your question, but I I appreciate that the studio allowed us to do something so, I don't even know what the word is, but like...
I think it's important to talk about these things.
But sometimes studios are afraid to really go for something that might, I don't know, emotionally affect the audience like that. And so I just want to say that I know we're talking about Dark, but he does represent, you know, the unknown after
whatever happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. I think that's very brave, I think is the word. Maybe.
I do too, yeah. I think that's why people love the film when they watch it, and it's very emotional, is because it's really straightforward and honest. And that's something that Kaufman always does in his scripts too. It's really honest. Whether it's your cup of tea or not, you can't deny that his writing is like really from the heart and honest.
How do you represent that then? Like, how do you pull that out of a story that you're now talking about someone who shows fear, you know, is someone's fear represents death, everything like that, but also has to be a nice character to get on with?
Yeah, I think that it was I think everyone felt a little challenged by that.
Yeah.
But what I love about our film is we allow our character to be flawed. We allow him to be afraid for a long time. I think sometimes you show a film and executives get a little worried, like, oh, the audience is going to be like turned off or not want to see conflict for too long, or a character that's flawed for too long. And in this film, he is afraid for quite a bit. But I think that we support it with such interesting, intriguing visuals and characters and situations that feel very relatable. When we show this film to people, almost everyone says Orion is me.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think that relatability carries it. You know? I think you can do anything if it's relatable.
Yeah, yeah. Is that... Yes. Please try.
Have we talked about taking the line from the script, like Cloak of Inky Darkness?
No,
Okay.
Okay.
Well, okay, so on the topic of representing Dark as a character and his character design. In the script, there's a line where Orion curses the darkness, and he curses Dark with his cloak of inky darkness, I believe he says.
Advanced kid, yeah.
Yeah, and you pulled that from the script, and I remember Tim had done some really early VizDev art where you ran with that idea where Dark is this mysterious figure with an inky cloak, because we thought that was like such a cool way to describe him, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And also, I mean, it tied in with the illustrative look of our movie. Yeah. And it felt like something that was coming straight from Charlie's script. Mm-hmm. So it just felt like a really nice sort of union. And also I remember before I joined, you kind of had a photo of like you had like an illustration of a Grim Reaper, and then you had a Muppet, and you were like, this character has to do both things. Like, they have to be both people, and I think that was really cool.
Yeah, the thing about Dark is he's misunderstood. So, and I think a lot of people are. But visually, when you first meet him, he looks scary. Kind of like Hagrid. I always kind of relate him to Hagrid, you know? Like, if you see Hagrid, you're like, yes, sir, you know, like afraid a little bit because he's huge, and he looks long hair and beard, and maybe he looks mean. But really, when you talk to him, he's like the sweetest person. And that's really what we wanted with Dark as well, is like, he's misunderstood. If you actually got to meet him, then you would see that he's a nice guy. I mean, that's literally what he says in the film. Yeah. So we wanted something that looked opposing and scary, but if you were able to just have a conversation with them, you could see that they're the least scary person you've ever met, possibly, you know?
So, yeah. Oh, yeah, no problem. I don't know, any closing words? No, I was just going to ask finally then about the world that this film exists in, okay, and how you develop that, because we've talked about Dark and the development of that, but obviously you have to go into the Dark. You have to, and also Orion's world, everything like that. You said it's a hybrid of styles. Yes. Could you narrow that down for me a bit?
Without giving too much away about this, about the story, it takes place in different, time? No, I don't say that.
Nope.
I don't say that. I don't say that at all.
Yeah.
So it takes place in the mid-90s, and so we had to reference a lot of stuff from mid-90s for sets. It has this handmade illustrated look, and we're traveling all over the world. And so there was a lot of different loation sort of references.
Yeah, did a lot of location scouting, wanted to make sure that we were kind of going to all these different places. And actually going back to the ink thing, that was another thing that was really cool about doing the inky effect on Dark, was because it can fill a room, it can fill the sky, it can shrink down to the size of a mouse. You know, I mean, like, ink is very fluid. It can be big or small. And so I don't know if, Dark can be, you know,
like a shapeshifter,
he's a shapeshifter, and I forgot where I was going with that, but there you go.
I got some stuff.
You know what you're allowed to talk about.
Damn. No, it's fine. I think that another thing to answer your question is that we wanted it to be small feeling and huge. Yes. So the human world is Orion, his family. It's very real. I always say live action, real kid, real parents, real rooms, real front room. That the couch is not a couch you would ever buy, but it's a normal family, right? They're not artists. They're normal people. So everything is very live action, I would say. And then when you meet Dark and you meet the other entities, it's like, whoa. And I think that that's something we really try to do: ground it and keep it small, and and intimate so that the big stuff could feel big, the magical stuff could feel magical, because we don't have the benefit of live action. When you're in a live action movie and a ghost shows up, it's easy to feel the magic. But because it's a cartoon, it's an animated film, we're already kind of like doing a little magic because it's animated. So we really wanted to push this sort of like contrast of the real world versus the magical world. And I think it's a thing that I see sometimes in cartoons and animation, that everything is wacky, everything is cartoony, everything is pushed, everything is broad, because we have to keep the audience interested. And we were we did do this thing of like really real stuff. Nothing, no gags, no jokes, no clever dialogue. It's just real kid, real parents. And then when Dark shows up and we deal with the entities, the magic is really felt, I think. So I think that was a really cool thing. And I know I mentioned it earlier, but I'd just say big thanks to Dreamworks and Netflix allowing us to make this type of film.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I know we're finished now, Seth, but I think it's interesting that it's needed, really, a voice like that in terms of raw honesty for storytelling now, you know? And
I think it's what the audience wants.
Yes,
because my
I
kids
agree.
watch a lot of YouTube, and it's just a kid, you know, doing something. And, right? It is.
That's true, yeah.
And I think audiences that do want that sort of like, less like, we know what you want. Here's all the gags and all the things that you want, and more just like, I think when the filmmakers get to make a film that is a large percentage them, and it's not trying to like cater to the audience as much, that the audience actually really appreciates that.
Big time.
Yeah.
Because it's so personal then, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, I don't know if I can talk about other things, but I think other things on Netflix that really pop, and on other streaming and movies, like Everything Everywhere, that film is so honest.
So raw.
It's so honest. It's so from the filmmaker's heart, and look at what that did. You know, I think I hope everyone sees that that's maybe a way to make things as well.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate all your time. I'm excited to see this film. You've made me really excited.
Yeah, we might make you cry.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Finally. Yeah, someone can do it.
I mean, I cry every day, but
I was crying
other reasons.
setting up these cameras.
Yeah, yeah.
You already made me cry, don't worry.